Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about science a little bit, supposedly. So, searching for Planet X, scientists discover distant Goblin object billions of miles beyond Pluto. Now, I know there's a lot of people who poo-poo the idea of a Planet X or Nibiru or anything like that, but there's a couple things going on here that science-wise that they either don't know or refuse to believe. One is that something is disturbing the sun. There seems to be almost like the sun is in a binary system of some sort, billions of miles apart. There's been speculation that it's a large planet, that it's a brown dwarf, and that it typically is somewhere where we can't see it as easily. Obviously, if it's a brown dwarf, it would be difficult. Something is basically the sun has a wobble that they haven't been able to account for. And the other thing is that there's something that disturbs the outer planets, and in the Kuiper Belt. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about the Oort cloud or the Oort cloud, as some pronounce it. That is theoretical, and even with our spacecraft, with the Voyager 1 and 2, which are supposedly in interstellar space, they've not discovered anything about an Oort cloud. That is highly theoretical. So, this was interesting. This caught my eye because, Planet X or Planet 10 or whatever you want to call it is something out there. Now, I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. I don't know if my browser is not, it could be part of my ad blocker. I don't know if that's a video. Now, like a lot of these things, and this is where some of the naysayers say this is phony and fake, this is going to be artist renderings, not real pictures. So in the deepest solar system survey I've ever conducted, astronomers have discovered evidence of a giant undiscovered planet. So by evidence, it's probably, the silhouette of gravity. Things move like we don't expect. Science discovered an extremely distant object billions of miles beyond Pluto, which is a long way. Carnegie Institute for Science. An artist's conception of distant Planet X could be shaping the orbits of smaller, extremely distant objects, especially out in the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt, I've even heard people pronounce it. The object has an orbit that hints at an even further out super Earth or larger Planet X that could be lurking out there. I would be surprised. Basically, most of our models of the universe have been wrong constantly anyway. The object has an orbit that hints at... Okay, I just read that. The findings were announced Tuesday by the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planet Center. The object, which researchers have nicknamed the Goblin, was discovered as part of astronomy's hunt for unknown dwarf planets and Planet X, aka Planet 9, because Pluto's no longer a planet. Now there's actually objects slightly bigger than it in the Kuiper Belt. Great. Maybe we have to redefine what we mean by planet or planetoid or mini planet or small planet. Anyway, as yet discovered world could be mass about 10 times that of Earth. So not quite the size of Jupiter. I'm going to say mass. So it depends on what it is, right? So it could be smaller as far as diameter, but far more dense. According to NASA, the existence of this distant world is only theoretical at this point, and no direct observations of the object nickname. So in other words, they're looking at how things are orbiting, and they're noticing something's perturbing them. Now, if there is something that far out, Pluto has like a 200 and some odd year orbit, something like that, maybe larger. Something that far out is really going to have a long orbit. So it would have to be big to still be influencing things. It's also interesting that if it is influencing Pluto or Neptune or other things, that that they stay close together. The new research led by Carnegie Institute for Space is the largest and deepest survey conducted for distant solar system objects. These distant objects are like breadcrumbs leading us to Planet X. The object, a 200-mile wide rock with the rather inelegant name of 2015 TG387, is about 7.9 billion miles from the sun. That's about 2.5 times as far away from the sun as Pluto. So wait a minute, is there not an object? How do we know how big it is if we haven't observed it directly? We think that it could be thousands of small bodies, but their distance makes finding them very difficult. Well, no kidding. This is where it's almost like what we need is, if we could get something to go fast enough, this would be the problem, is something going in a spherical, spiral orbit out. The problem is it would have to go fast enough so that, it's not thousands of years that it takes. If this thing was orbiting, let's say the orbit of this object was 300 years, just for a nice even number. if we were to send a space probe to it and find it and then say, well, what else is out there? If it was orbiting only slightly faster around the sun, it was going to take 301 years to do a rotation, or 310 years. It's still way too long. It needs to like be able to go around in a year or two and kind of see what's out there, slowly getting further and further and further away. Now, I wonder if this is on the plane, because not all, most of the planets are on the same orbital plane, the elliptical, but not all of them. Pluto does not. Things like Halley's Comet do not orbit on that orbital plane. Telescopes in Chile, Hawaii, and Arizona, please, Oxford, were used, discovered, and confirmed the existence of the distant object. Well, okay, is it confirmed or not confirmed? Because it's said that they don't have any direct evidence, and now we're saying we're using telescopes. I guess this is indirect. This is kind of this is a USA Today article. That's part of the problem. This isn't the first discovery this group of researchers has made this year. Again, while searching for Planet X, the team found 12 additional moons of Jupiter. Wow. Well, that's cool. We may have to go look at that. And that makes this result really interesting, is that the Planet X seems to affect the same way as the other extremely distant solar objects. What? This makes this really interesting, that Planet X seems to affect 2015 TG 387 the same way all the other extremely distant solar objects. As all. The simulations do not prove that there's another massive planet in our system, but are further evidence that something big out there. Okay, so I think we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about this isn't the object, is not the planet. That's an object they found, and they think there's a planet out there affecting its orbit, I think is what's going on here. These distance, okay, so the reach for another body is the largest and deepest. So what did I miss? This one was only theoretical. So maybe there's something in between here that my browser's not showing because of ad blocking and stuff like that. There's no comments either. So basically, we have a rock out there, a 200-mile wide rock that's being affected by something because its orbit is not quite what we expect. And so this is the indirect evidence that there's a large planet out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something really big out there, and it's just that it's more distant from these objects. And so we think there's something only 10 times the size of the mass of the Earth, when there's something actually bigger out there sweeping around, and it's just doing it very slowly, like a 400-year orbit or 500-year orbit or something. That would be crazy. Oh, it would be really crazy. It's like a 1,000-year orbit. But anyway, so there we go. So we have a little bit more evidence that there's something out there way beyond Pluto that might be pretty big, that's affecting rocks, and who knows, maybe it does bump, it does knock rocks and things toward the inner solar system for our asteroids and stuff like that from time to time. So this is, again, an artist's conception, but hey, I think we're discovering more and more about our solar system, and what I love is I love it when we find stuff that make our assumptions wrong, because that's when we really should question everything and learn the truth. All right, thanks for stopping by. See you later.